ahead of them today, and it's just another step up. It's another increase in difficulty. You know, Cyclops are really going to put them through the ringer here, more than likely, on Oregon. I think Oregon is one of those good leveling maps where, you know, every team should know what to do here. You're going to be playing it an awful lot, and I think T1 will. It's just whether they can weather the storm that will no doubt come along with Cyclops and the gun skill particularly that they bring in at the minute.
You know what really made me laugh? They were talking on the desk about the entry for T1, and so I looked at the top 5, and the top 5, they've got 2 players in the top 5 for entry. I was like, oh, it can't be that bad, can it? Because 11's like 9-1, Neil Yo's like +3. Then I looked at Crazy Boy, he's 3-14. So Jess wasn't joking about the aggression he's showing on these more supportive roles. It's a problem if you're playing things like the smoke and being the one to get caught out early in the round, as we always speak about those late round power spikes. Operators like the Echo and the smoke really start to shine. But our bans are flying through. Flores, the first one being taken away, slowly creeping up in popularity as more and more teams adopt him into their lineups. And Buck is an interesting one because a lot of teams are starting to lean towards it, not so much as a direct hard entry, but definitely as a more aggressive pick in a number of cases. I think it's actually becoming a very viable ban given the downturn of, say, Ashe and likely soon Zofia with the changes that are coming through to her.
Melusi coming in as our first defender ban then, and we will have one more join us as T1 will round things out. They, of course, starting on the defence here. Valkyrie will go. Again, some very useful black eye cameras can be found here on Oregon, on the outside, inside, all over the place. So Valkyrie will be gone. Very popular ban so far this stage. To be honest, I mean, reasonably popular throughout, but seems to have taken a jump again here as we, you know, try to avoid that information game and the level of utility that Valkyrie can bring.
We mentioned it.
Straight in.
Additus Monty. I was curious to know if it's going to be banned out, and the answer clearly is a resounding no. Instead, favouring the Flores in this case. I get nervous about it. I mean, even more so now that there's 2, but it's Nino time if that blitz sticks. I can't imagine we're going to see them stack this up. Surely not. I mean, apparently it's the play. Normally you see one or the other. I remember back when Pengu played. Rest in peace his soul at this point. God, it's been ages since he's been out the game. He would often alternate between the Monty and the Blitz. And I say often, it was more in a game on Cafe, I believe it was against Na'Vi. 4 of the rounds played the Monty, 2 of them played the Blitz. The Blitz naturally being a much more aggressive operator. The whole goal is to get up in someone's face, but to do that, you need to isolate someone. So to me, this just suggests that paired with the Decabi, they're looking to isolate roamers from T1 and punish them for being away from the rest of the team.
APAC is being set up as we would expect. Usually when attacking onto this site, there's going to be a push from the attic side or the master bedroom side. Sometimes a little bit of both. Try and create a pinch for them in the middle. We have had a little bit recently of players trying to get underneath as well. Work with things like nades, explosives from underneath, but that's not going to be possible this time around. Obviously, a lot of that type of utility has been foregone essentially with the 2 shields being brought along in Montagna and Blitz. So really, it's going to have to be a very direct push towards site this time, Des.
I love the stacking here as well, by the way. Normally, the Wamai and the Jaeger is a pairing that you see together. The Mute and the Mozzie is a pairing that you see together. Most teams won't run both at the same time. Not sure why, but for many, it's that lean towards having one of the pairings and then you build a comp around it that doesn't normally involve the other pairing. Whereas clearly the focus here is, 1, denying out things like the grenades, of which there will be a couple to come flying in, a number of smokes on side. That is the cheekiest start and kill. And onto the perfect player as well, Ace 11, to be the first one going down.
What a great start that is for Ayagator there, coming in, getting himself a nice kill with a little punch through the wall. Got to imagine there was a bit of information being provided as to that player location. Now, Gatterada on that blitz, he's looking to get aggressive. He's just pushing in through that doorway. Needs to be careful. His protection is not quite as complete as it is for Montagna, of course, so just needs to be aware of his angles, particularly on the back. He just rushes in there, tries to take the pistol kill on to Neilio, but comes unstuck as he manages to find the head. Not a problem, and that brings us now to a 4 versus 4, but Ayagator gets himself a second in the round, and it's all about clearing some utility out now.
It's tucked
for that mute jammer, but it's tucked right in the corner, and there comes the challenge from Replica. He knew that the man was heavily focused on what was going on above him, but not the position of the player. 3 versus 3 at the halfway mark.
Really, really smart mute jammer coming out. And I mean, the Blitz have got questions about there. Running forward without the flash going off onto the Jaeger made it far too easy to win the fight. But Black Ray stepping in. We always speak about as the numbers dwindle down, a Monty only gets more powerful. And in a 3 versus 2, one of those being a Monty on the side of the 3, I'd be feeling very nervous if I were T1 right now.
As would I. 20 seconds later, and we still have Cyclops in the lead here. 3-2 now on the scoreboard, on the man count, sorry, looking to make that advantage pay. They've got a minute, they've got plenty of time, all the time in the world really, especially when you've got Anaton inside on the Monty starting to try and bully Yeti out of his position inside of APAC. But Yeti, he's not going to be affected by that. He's not going to be moved around. He's got his deployable shield. He's happy to stay where he is for the time being. We've got a little stack up on the double window, so essentially a little bit of a pinch between the two, but the problem is that it's the Monty on the other side, and obviously he's not ideal at getting aggressive, but
what's
gets
doing?
super aggressive. 4 in the round for him, just hops in, gets the ward, and they're just completely unaware. Des absolutely unaware of Ayagator pushing in from double window.
We always ask this, and we always wonder, like, what is going through their minds with the calls, because the guy dies top white and goes, big window. He's jumped in, big window. And the guy still just ignores him and runs straight through into trophy. Lost for words is probably the best way to describe the close of that round. A great one for Ayagator, as you say. 4K to kick things off. Great first round coming out. A couple of things still to work on, as mentioned. The Blitz, not quite sure about the challenge going inside of APAC. And the DKB really did get shut down by that mute quite hard. It was really smart to put it off to the right, knowing that the go-to default for normal mute jammers is going to be in the middle of the wall to cover both. So what do, knowing they're going to likely open the right-hand wall, stick it across to the far right. It avoids that death from below, and actually the mute even finds a kill. So not bad from T1, but Cyclops again just showing that power that they've got. The fact that one man can walk up and walk away with the 4K tells you just how scary they can be.
Heading down to the bottom floor this time, T1 deciding to switch things up, not going to double down on that top floor site. We've got the mirror brought along from Replica. It's always an operator I like to keep an eye on. I like to watch where those black mirrors are placed, because very fascinating gadget. We might have one looking from electrical in towards bunker, but very easily cleared out once the hatch is taken down. So sometimes they will avoid that one, because you've got to really commit to defending that hatch inside a meeting if you're going to play that one. Other common locations will be the wall looking into freezer, and this wall that Replica is reinforcing here that looks then into laundry.
Here's that opening wallbang. Well, not really a wallbang, he sprayed the wall open, but I think this would have been on a drone. They'd have known that he was hanging around this area, and that is an absolute freebie onto the man that you really want to be bringing down. 11 for those that haven't watched too much APAC North before. Absolute machine. I think Solo gave T1 their first win in APAC North across both stages. They went 0-7 in stage 1, and coming into stage 2, that didn't look super promising in terms of the turnaround of fortunes, but against Dan1 Gaming, 20-8. Whew.
Suzuki pushing in there, taking the default cam down, just looking to put that Dokkaebi DMR to good use, just seeing if he can clear out any roamers. Anaton once again getting aggressive on the Monty, just pushing in, trying to gather information, trying to spot anybody who is playing in and around that rear stage area, just feeding information back in, pinging out that the default cam is still active, not been able to take it out himself. He does have a drone ahead of him as well, which is going to give him some information about maybe what's to come as he pushes forward. He just seems very concerned about the potential for somebody playing in Big Tower there. There isn't anybody up on the top tier, so he is safe, but certainly seems to be aware of the potential danger.
Yeah. More so just kind of scaring himself there, giving himself the heebie-jeebies. No one is present, so it should be now a focus turning down into the basement with that big tower start coming in. Lovely drone in the corner from Gatorade will feed all the info they need about what's going on at the bottom of Elbow, as we call it, inside of Blue, and also what's going on inside of Shaiko Spot. We've got the ADS in place, we've got the shield on the door, for example. It's a very common setup that you'll see around this area. You'll have someone on Elbow, you'll have two. Normally one holding pillar, one holding again behind the Shaiko wall, as we call it. And here comes the Monty. Two smokes going down, and they step their way in. Black Ray drops and finds one, gets charged over by the Oryx. I've not seen that in the longest time, but Black Ray manages to shut down 11 before he can convert the kill. An uncharacteristically slow response from 11. Neilio comes in and finds Suzuki. A second one onto Anaton. That's the Monty removed, and a third for Replica. T1 are turning this around.
But the kills keep raining. It's almost 1-for-1 every single time, and that's where we found ourselves. 1 versus 1, Blitz versus Replica, but Gatorada very low health at the minute. He needs to put that shield to phenomenal work here. He's going up against the Vector, which will land bullets faster than almost any other weapon, and he's going to struggle here. That's a nice, clever move from Replica, taking away his own utility there by taking the melee shots onto the Black Mirror.
This is ludicrous. They're playing ring around the roses with each other at this point. Replica knows that he's got the advantage holding on the hard wall, on the soft wall, sorry, then swings into Cubby for the closeout. It looks like beautiful closing round, or closing kill, sorry. Ridiculously close, and outside of that big flank play coming out of T1 in the mid round, the 3 kills that swung their way, that looked almost guaranteed to be a Cyclops round.
It did, but T1 able to get it over the line. The important thing for T1 there was the trades. They were managing to pick the trades up fantastically well, always going 1 for 1, and it ultimately left Replica in a winnable position. We've got to mention that charge down by 11. He was unfortunate to not be able to double up and get the kill onto that one. It was something, as you said, Des, that we don't really see all too often. It's sometimes a bit of a forgotten counter to Montagna is the Oryx that can just use that dash to knock him to the ground, and it also obviously is the shield break as well, then able to take the kill, but just couldn't get his weapon to bear quick enough and was taken out by the support being offered by Black Ray.
Meeting and Kitchen going to be where we head for round 3. Many, I think, would look at this site and go, oh, well, it's the offside. Why wouldn't you go dining in kitchen? I'd wager the other day we actually saw, I don't know the exact numbers to be honest, but I'm pretty sure we saw more meeting in kitchen the other day than we did dining in kitchen. And even in some of the games, we saw all 4 sites played and utilised. Sometimes on this site I get nervous because attackers will just say, well, we can get control of big tower, we've got to worry about potential flanks from above and from below, and that's all we need to worry about. Get the door open, go for our plant, have someone hold inside a green. It's as simple as 1, 2, 3. That's why you're seeing quite a lot being committed here in terms of the electrification by Crazy Boy. But we've got to talk about this lineup on the other side, Ace. The Glass stepping in along with the Kappa Tower and the Ying and the Decabi. That's a lot of smoke. Alongside the 2 smoke bolts, there are 6 smoke grenades. That just screams, if anything else, this strat relies on the Glaz staying alive.
Suzuki on the Capito, getting aggressive once again. Just misses the opportunity, I think, to peek onto 11 there, who takes a little look at that lower window, but will not find anybody there, so he dips away on the Oryx, just using that dash to move around quickly, get himself back into sight. We are, of course, defending kitchen and meeting, but it looks like there's pressure going to be applied from small tower. The drones are raining over. We've got this top floor hold again. Gatarada is looking to get in there.
They've got no hard breach. They just need to force a fight here. I mean, not even the Kappa Tower's brought the gadgets. The walls that are reinforced or electrified are staying that way. This just screams to me that they want to charge at them, find kills, play through doorways, for example. But to start that, you want this top floor control, and right now they can't find it. I know it sounds like a real easy thing to say, but it feels like a bit of a blunder with this lineup to have absolutely no hard breach on side, Ace. This is why we have hard breaches in the game. They're going to learn just how tough it can be to deal with reinforced walls.
Ayagator manages to find Neilio. He, of course, himself getting the opening kill this round, but won't be able to get any more for his team. 4 versus 4, and Black Ray, he's just going to hold this angle for the time being on the Glaz, no doubt. He's got the thermal scope active now. That drops off if the operator moves. 11 on the Oryx, able to find the kill onto Ayagator, who had such a good round last time out. He'd also got himself a kill here as well, but not able to find any more inside of this one. 4 versus 3, T1 with an advantage here, and we did suggest that Oregon might be a good leveler for T1 here, but just as yet he tries to drop the hatch. Anaton manages to find the man before he can get himself down there to safety, and we're now 3 versus 3 coming up to the final minute.
They've still got 4 smokes to play with as well, plus the 2 firebolts coming out from Suzuki, but they did burn all their candelas on the top floor and have lost 2 members. Admittedly, the members I think you'd be happy to lose in this case, like maybe DKB a bit less so, but the Zofia, you're not going to cry over that once all the utility had already been burnt, and instead you're relying on these 3 that are left to be the ones with their utility to make a play happen.
Black Ray just, again, looking to make that Glaz work. But as I said, those changes with the thermal scope, he's got to be very careful how fast he moves, particularly. And Replica able to take advantage of that and find the headshot onto the Glaz, who was just avoiding that thermal scope dropping off because of his movement. Now, Suzuki moving down those main stairs. It's all down to Suzuki and Anaton. And the first thing they're going to have to do is find a couple of kills. They've got 20 seconds left to go. Suzuki does have diffuser in hand, but there's going to be no opportunity to get him down. You see the man, you see the elbow, but they can't do anything about it. Suzuki finds the trade onto Replica, but it tells the remaining T1 members exactly where he's coming from, and it's an easy pickup for Crazy Boy then from kitchen into security.
I'll put it quite bluntly, that felt like a bit of a troll round. Like, I don't know what the game plan was. Like, again, without any hard breach, your focus is going to be on, right, we're going to smoke things off. We push with the glass, for example. We rely on our utility to get us through. But when you're burning all your yings inside a kid's bedroom, for example, you're losing a couple of members. There's no watch on the flank from Armory Stairs, which is where 11 came from. And that final closing, I don't know, you've got a Glass taking a direct firefight without any smoke protection onto Zulu. It just looked a little bit chaotic and scrappy from Cyclops. Not sure about that. Think we go back to something a bit more default. That looks to be the play here with the Ace and the Maverick. They now have those hard breaches. And Sledge, Iana and Zofia, 3 of the most popular operators in the game right now.
Top floor it will be then, and of course this is the site that we saw first of all that Cyclops were able to come in and win. T1 then being successful in laundry and meeting, so if they can get this one put down, get it on the board, get themselves 3-1 ahead, you start sort of worrying for Cyclops a little bit, Des. I mean, I'm expecting much better out of Cyclops on the defence.
Yeah, massively.
I think, you know, they are going to be difficult to break down when it comes to the defence, and we're playing into their setup. But for that reason, T1, they need to take advantage of this momentum that they've got. A couple of good rounds there, especially that last one. They were very solid. There wasn't much that Cyclops could do about that defence. And if T1 can keep this ball rolling and get themselves a nice little advantage here, it could provide all the cushion that they need.
What I will give to T1 is they're playing their own game really well. And one of my comments coming out of their game against Talon, 8-6 to Talon last week on this exact same map, was their own play isn't particularly aggressive. It's quite passive. You know, maybe that was partly down to Talon's excellent drone play, which I think is really quite strong for them at the moment. It's the executes where they look a little bit dicey. But so far today, we've seen 2 rounds where they've got big flanks off onto Cyclops. That previous round through Armory Stairs and down in basement in round number 2, we had that flank coming in from Blue that ended up netting them a 2k and eventually turned into a full 3k for the team that swung things down into that 1 versus 1. So for Cyclops, whether it's a case of missing a flank drone or 2 or just being caught at really unfortunate timing, that's the one thing I feel they really need to tighten up on to stop players like 11 just running away with the game.
Yeti holding a tight angle through that Showers wall there. He's just going to stay in the corridor for now, just looking to prevent any push towards White Stairs. But don't think he's going to get too much joy. There's not too much attention being paid over there. We've got Cyclops we can see moving around rear stage. However, I say that Black Ray moves in and manages to get a kill onto 11. It wasn't the man Yeti who was holding the angle, but it is one nonetheless. Suzuki looking to move up Freezer Stairs. He's gone in through rear stage, got himself on the basement level, through underneath, now coming up those Freezer Stairs to try and join his counterpart in Black Ray here so that they can start mounting some pressure onto White Stairs. We can see Gators over by that double window on the outside as well. So again, a lot of west-sided pressure from Cyclops on the attack here, which is ultimately what won them the round back in round 1.
Made me so nervous to see Suzuki just peeking onto Zulu blind when he's got a drone in the back pocket. Still that kind of grayed out circle in the bottom right of his character card says that 1 is still in back pocket. The big full white one means it's out on the field. Gatorado bringing down Neilio, now into 5 versus 3. This is much more classic Cyclops, dare I say, until, yet again, they get hit on the flank. This time, Yeti coming up through Freezer. I spoke about those flank drones not too long ago. Maybe that one that was in Sledge's back pocket would have been better committed down inside a Freezer.
Anaton again joining the west side push here. It's really starting to gather some momentum, but the problem is without too much pressure coming in from Master or Attic, it lets T1 know exactly where this push is going to come from, so they can start just facing up all their weapons in that direction and
Yeti
getting ready for the challengers. Now Yeti on the flank here could move himself onto White Stairs, but the window is being watched, so he needs to be very careful. Replica takes some damage. There it is, Gatorada on the cover. Fantastic from him, gets the kill on to Yeti, and once again Des being caught out in sight, just completely unaware of where the swarm of Cyclops players were coming from, and they just absolutely run over the top of them.
Yeah, that one was a lot better, coming out from Cyclops. They put their focus around White Stairs, as we saw, and well, this time around didn't need a flank drone, you had a flank player. Someone sat outside in the window waiting for the run to come.
Right, I've been killed from rear stage, right, I
yeah.
can go and make a challenge on that immediately. I think, you know, it is about being in those positions to be able to do that.
Absolutely. And I want to note as well in the last round, they had 6 frag grenades on side. only saw a couple used, and none to the effect that maybe you'd want in terms of finding a kill or two. I think it was more for the utility clear. Now, look at this lineup they're bringing out. It's not miles away from what we saw previously. It's going to be the Glaz stepping in again with the Monty and the Capitao, so lots of smoke to play behind, but at least this time round, there is that hard breach on side. You've got the Maverick, you've got the Hibana, and as well as having all these smokes, you've now also got 4 frag grenades being brought along. So a much more diverse composition, giving them a lot of options. You can play the standard route with the Monty charging in as he should do on the Monty and slowly taking ground away from them. You can get hatches opened up and play for a drop play if you want. It's what worked so well for Black Ray the last time they attacked this site. Or you can sit behind the Glaz, you can force people to run with the Capitao Firebolts. I like the diversity of the comp they've got here.
As you say, we've seen that Goyo shield. I think it was Jess who picked up on it last week. The shield being played out towards pillars instead. It's not the exact same shield position. That one was a little bit further back, sort of attached to the double door frame to allow aggression through the soft wall, through a little pixel peak. But still an interesting position to try and just shut that area down. It would suggest maybe they might play somebody in there early round and then look to have that as their fallback position. But obviously, in order to do that, it's going to be very important for them to hold on to Freezer. They need to make sure that that is kept locked and secure, because otherwise all that utility will be for nothing.
Absolutely. Well, let's see how this one squares up then. As you mentioned, that 4-2 at the half is probably what T1 have gone in for right now, but at 2-2, you never know. At least with a slightly revised composition, things could work out at least a little bit better for them. Their last attack I thought was good. Let's not forget they did get the 2 entry kills pushing into the map. They then just got hit on the flank, because there's been, again, the thing that has plagued Cyclops quite a bit in this first half. I want to see this Glaz put to really good use, knowing that you've got a comp here that's got those 4, I guess 6 if you include the Capitao in terms of, sorry, 4 in total, because they are with the Capitao. The Glaz in this case has got those frags, of course, alongside the Maverick. They've got those tools to play with, so use them to their full effect, including getting his hatch open, as it's still currently sealed up after about 60 seconds or so.
Drone's going into Freezer, and I did already comment on the importance, and as you said, as they're getting that hatch open, they're looking to gain access to it. The meeting hatch opened as well. Yeti playing down there in Shaco spot, but he's going to have a quiet game for the time being, because the majority of the push is coming from Laundry and Freezer right now. We've got 4 players, Aniton coming to join on the Monte as well, all over by this Laundry hatch at the minute, and there's just a token force being left down by Freezer. Now Nelio, he's going to be finding himself facing up. That's interesting, the repositioning of that shield. It's always something that fascinates me, is that mid-round manoeuvre of utility. Obviously, it can be a little bit of a danger to do it. He needs to be very careful peeking that Glaz. The opportunity was possibly there. Gatterada just not quite pulling the trigger. He's just looking for those quick peeks, just looking to jiggle out from cover and find the man. He's playing through that Capitao smoke at the minute, but still unable to find one with the first kill going over to T1. Levelled out by Gatterada, though.
Scorcher of a grenade coming through, and a Scorcher quite literally onto Nelio as the Firebolt finds the target. 2 kills for the side of Cyclops, only lost the Maverick so far. Now's your time to start thinking about the push through, as Yeti needs to relocate himself. This push coming in from the south. I spoke about the Monty before. As the numbers dwindle on the defensive side, it becomes a problem. 11 balancing things back out slightly with the kill onto the Hibana, but these 3 big power picks are still standing here, Ace.
They certainly are. 3 versus 3, 28 seconds left to go, and it's all down to T1 to just hold on now. But how Gatterada, no! Misses his shots there as he drops with the Glaz pistol. Yeti, I think he owes Gatterada there, because he got away with one. I think 9 times out of 10, Yeti's going to lose his life on the rear stage stairs, and that round goes a different way.
I mean, yeah, sure. The rifle isn't the best primary to take those more slash short. I guess that one's really short. Short-range engagements. You do want the pistol. But without it being a headshot, took, what, 3-4 shots? And in that time, I was like, oh, there's a guy that's just dropped E-box. Turn around, spray. Freest kill of your life. So I get the idea of what they were going for, just couldn't quite win their ones in that final engage. And a good little, I don't want to call it a flank, but a sidestep coming in from T1 to bring down the Capitao at the end. 3-2 for T1, looking to press on for that win as we go back down to Meeting and Kitchen for our final defensive round.
Going to have the Nomad brought along, so we'll have the air jabs to prevent any potential flanks coming in. As you say, Kitchen Meeting once again. We saw this back in round number 3. Nelio opened things up for us with a kill onto Gatterada, and it all went in the favour of T1 from there. It's probably the site that Cyclops looked least like winning, to be honest. You know, coming into this one, they didn't really make much ground. They were shut down in and around that showers corridor, and it all came down to a one-man push from security into site, and it was a pretty easy mop-up come the end of it as to just moving across and finding that final kill. They knew exactly where he was coming from. T1 had traded out kills throughout the round very, very well, and it was all good for them come the end of the round. Now, Crazy Boy has just applied that electrical charge onto the rear stage, so you've got to pay attention to that. You can't ignore the rear stage. It used to be the push, if you remember when we first got onto Oregon as the new Oregon, and Meeting was being used as a site. It was all about just get into Big Tower, get that rear stage wall open, and try and get the diffuser down, but it's certainly developed a lot since then.
You know what I find kind of baffling? It's taken up this many rounds to get to? The Nomad by Ayagator being brought along. That flank watch we've mentioned a couple of times has been a problem, and sure, they started committing actual players to watch the flanks for them to net kills, but the Nomad is always going to be the easy answer, I think. This now looking like a much more standard sort of setup rather than the crazy no hard breach that we saw on their last attack of this site. So here with the Thatcher on side as well as the two hard breachers, they've got a lot more options available to them, and at least to start, it appears the option they're going with is not the one to attack the stage wall, instead is to push their way in across from dining and try and go for a plant inside a kitchen.
Suzuki on the Thatcher, just going to use those EMP grenades. Hibana pellets already applied and will be immediately activated, so that is a good start for Cyclops on the attack here. They've got some site access. Blackray just taking a long angle there from dining into kitchen. 11 needs to be very careful peeking this. He knows exactly where the man is. Very nearly hits his shots as well, but he will no doubt keep himself under cover for the remainder as this one as much as he can now. Blackray, interestingly, has moved away. Not much attention now coming in from that west side. The T1 side are all looking in that direction, but Cyclops there looking massively to get these vertical angles and to use that push. Great nade to the top of White Stairs. Neilio taken down by Gatorada, and that leaves just Yeti to try and hold on up here.
Absolutely. I mean, he's got to try and hold for as long as he can in terms of pressure, and he knows that everything going around and that he's going to get himself brought out. He's on the ground like a snake. And Gatorada brings down Yeti. 5 versus 3. They've got that vertical control. They've got the kitchen wall open. This is a plant opportunity if I've ever seen one. Blackray walking his way in, finds Crazy Boy. That's what you want from your supports later in the round, is to be able to walk in and find a couple of kills. Now in a 5 versus 2. This should not be a round that they lose. They've got 60 seconds to play with Ace. This could be as simple as pie. Sprayed down from Split after he shot out the Iana Gemini, and a flawless round coming out for Cyclops, much better than their previous attempt of Meeting and Kitchen.
It is, and a 3-all half overall, I think suits Cyclops down to the ground there. We know, that the defenders can be very difficult to break down here on Oregon, and I think that's probably what we're going to see out of Cyclops now, is then coming along and really locking things down. I mean, I could be wrong. We will see. T1 have been playing well so far. They've been hitting some shots. They're certainly not having the worst day of it, but I think they could be facing up to a slightly different beast in the second half.
I think even that first half, like, again, not to call them out too hard in it, but there was some really trolly setups coming out of Cyclops. No hard breach, stacking everything behind smokes, bringing in 6 frags and barely using any of them. It was just a very relaxed attack is the kind way of wording it. A lazy one at best is probably the exact word I would have lent towards for that one. They probably could have got themselves another couple of rounds if they've really put their back into it and gone for some serious compositions, because we saw just how capable they are of attacking in that previous round. Maybe it's a case of, and I'm not at all trying to say that they don't respect T1, they absolutely do, I'm sure, but more a case of saying we don't need to show our main comps here because we know that we can do pretty well, even bringing along some less than ideal ones. It's again the kindest way to put it. They start off in the basement though, and in terms of setup here, you see the pulse being brought along. Not often that you see that on this site because, of course, there is no soft ceiling or soft floor above the basement. It's only hatches that you can play behind, but that doesn't mean that you might not see a cheeky C4 or 2 coming out.
Well, it becomes much more informational at that point, doesn't it? It's about actually, directing the defensive attention and knowing where the push is coming from. Now, interestingly, down in that laundry corridor, they have got the setup that I was talking about with the castle barricade on the double door. They've got the soft wall opened up, thank you very much, and we've got the shield just playing slightly off the door frame of the double door, and it just allows an angle to be peeked through that soft wall onto the rear stage stairs area, and again just makes pillars that little bit more uncomfortable for the defenders to hold on to. Now, interestingly, Des, we've got 4 lined up here. It looks like we're going to have a rush in, and that's how you deal with a rush. Blackray with a shotgun to the face of Neilio tells Ayagator that they're incoming. He finds the kill onto Replica, and Cyclops, they were more than ready for this. The bunker rush falling apart right now for T1 as Gatorada finds 11, and this is it. The net is closing around them. It takes a matter of seconds seconds for that round to be shut down. That might be one of the quickest we've had of the stage.
I mean, 3 shotguns on side as well. The Ela, the Pulse, and the Mute, I think it was, or the Smoke, I forget. Between the 3 of them, like, if you kill one, you think, cool, we've cleared the shotgun player. There's 2 more waiting for us now on site. And to walk around the corner and be greeted by Pulse with a shotgun held to your face, not really the successful push into elbow that you were looking for, I think. But Cyclops, absolutely a good, solid first round. I think kind of what we expected coming into their defensive half ace.
Yep, I'd have suggested so. We've got Gatterado looking for that Caveira pick, maybe a 6th pick out. I don't know, maybe just a little bait in play for the Jackal to come in. Exactly that, Des. Switches out to the Alibi, slightly different utility, slightly different method of playing on the defense, but what they are doing is controlling T1's choices of the operators that they're going to bring, and that may leave them without utility that they may otherwise prefer to have.
Absolutely. Well, let's see how things fare on the top floor. The Alibi is always a really interesting one. I mean, I was going to say that, and then I was going to say, oh, well, normally you'd see a Frost be brought along, but they've actually got both here. So I guess they want shields without bringing the Goyo along. You have, of course, the sight transformation available from both of them. The intel that comes out of the gadget of Alibi, as well as, of course, those frost mats, those pesky, pesky frost mats. I remember probably 2 years ago when it would be an absolute meme if a pro player walked into a frost mat, but now it feels like we're seeing it, you know, several times in a game where Frost is brought along on quite a number of sites. Did recently get a nerf, I believe, where, or will do soon, where her 1.5 times sight is being taken away, because admittedly, she's very good, very flexible in terms of what she brings to a team, so I get it.
Heading into the action phase, then we're going to have T1 coming in from the main lobby side of things, just going to open up that main door. It would suggest that we might have a bit of attention paid towards Attic as well, because Crazy Boy did spawn over on the construction side as the Maverick, so that to me would suggest that he's going to try and make his way in there and get that Attic wall taken off with the blowtorch, whilst the alternative pressure comes in. Replica, no doubt, trying to get himself into Master Closet to get the wall open onto Games. Now 11 takes an early challenge and finds the kill onto Black Ray, so that clears Trophy out and allows access into Master quite quickly. So Replica, he's out there on the balcony ready to go, and we're going to see this pinch push coming in with the north-south split from T1.
Opening up the floor here, of course, you put the breaching charge on the wall. It will also carry on to the floor below, and that's where Gatterada is lurking like a piranha, waiting for someone to step over the top so he can snap those jaws shut. Neilio finds another onto Gatterada, and this is a good round for T1. Attempted flank from Suzu C, shut down. This could be a flawless round coming in, almost, as Irrigator does get Replica, but instantly traded out as the 2 players stack on top of each other.
Very nice from T1, as I said, you know, multiple angles of attack there, attention paid to a number of sides, and it just split Cyclops a little bit. I think 11 getting that early kill into Trophy was a big start for them, to be fair, because it just allowed that push up Armory stairs, confidently into Master Closet, open the breach up. It just got everything moving really quickly, and it forced the defense of Cyclops to think on their feet and to try and move themselves around and change things up, and unfortunately they just weren't able to adapt quick enough.
Probably going for a bit more of a passive setup here as well, with the Wamai, the Jaeger, the Bandit, the Mute, for example. Really, and the Goyo as well, sorry. The Jaeger you might see running out on the roam, but I think with Cyclops they were getting quite aggressive, trying to challenge through Trophy into Master. They had double peaks coming out through the game breach, for example. They're not really the kind of things you want to be swinging onto, knowing there could be someone waiting outside. There could be a couple, as there was inside of Master. And they paid the price for that aggression. So I'm thinking here we'll see a bit more of a passive setup. The Jackal no doubt going to dissuade them from playing too aggressively on the roam. So I think in this round, you will see a different Cyclops.
I think very possibly the Mute Jammer just there to defend that wall so they can try and keep hold of Kitchen. I mean, I think back to the old Oregon, you know, the old setup, and Kitchen was so important. As we've had, you know, a number of ways added to move from one side of the map to the other, especially that basement rotate that now comes up the freezer stairs. It has just altered the power of Kitchen a little bit. It was pretty much a defensive stalwart to try and keep yourself inside of there quite often with a pulse, but not quite the same case now. But we are going to have some attention paid to the spawn peak from Yeti there, absolutely removing Irrigator from that window.
Yeah, one to be wary of. I mean, the early aggression coming out, okay. I thought it would have been maybe the Jaeger would go for something like that. Not quite sure about the Bandit in this case, as it's now turned into a bit of a quiet half for the side of Cyclops, struggling at least a little bit in the last round. This one could turn out to be the same. Great grenade comes in, Gatorado almost being caught out, but steps out for the swing onto Neilio. And given he's all alone out towards the west side of the map, there will be no further pressure from that direction. All of the members of T1 are out towards the east.
11 again looking to move himself in through Master. He had a bit of success here last time, was able to get an opening kill into Trophy. This time it looks like Cyclops have decided to forego.
No.
That's really not to what T1 need at the minute. They just had a successful attack and they had an opportunity to build a little bit of momentum there, but ultimately it's not going to help themselves by putting the team kill down there. Crazy Boy the one ultimately to lose out. Now Replica's just going to remove that exothermic charge, so he's not leaving it open to be an impact tricked. There are a couple of impact nades still available, so a good choice.
I mean, the Mav being dead here means that they can't just blow out the smallest bit at the bottom of the wall, shoot out the jammer, and then get the exothermic off. And even if you do that, there's a good chance Gatorado will be waiting on the other side with those impacts to destroy both of those exothermics. So a little bit stuck here. They're going to have to play from below and try and remove it quite safely, I think, before they can look at getting this wall open. Might be what they try and go for here is Levin has done the work downstairs and shot it into Classroom. Black Ray not opted to do anything about this, just says, all right then, let it open up and let's be having you. Let's go for the 1v1 if someone wants to try and swing, at which time at the minute T1 are playing it properly, taking a pause, getting back on drones before they think about their push in.
Black Ray just going to hold aggressively onto the breach for the time being. He's really hoping that T1 are going to try and move their way in through there, but out goes the drone, so that could be potentially used to spot out the Goyo. Yeti just holding the angle from Trophy. There you go.
Good night.
That was a beautiful angle held from Black Ray. Gets himself a double off the breach, and sometimes it just goes to show how successful getting aggressive can be. 11 manages to find a kill from underneath onto Black Ray, shutting down the Goyo there, but ultimately it's probably going to be impactless as he tries to push into site. 1 versus 3 here. He does have time on his side. 35 seconds, he collects the diffuser, he's going to look to push in through the breach, but no, it's watched, and it's well watched as Gatorada shuts it down from distance all the way over by the double window and closes out the round for Cyclops.
Notice as well how on the Zofia is playing the LMG. She, of course, has those recoil changes in place, so why not change guns and see what you can do with that instead? And there's a couple on Twitter who were saying as much yesterday. You know, you're all sleeping on the LMG for Zofia. Trust me, you want to give it a go. Clearly, Eleven's been listening and has been doing just that. That round, I think, was much more as the expected outcome for Cyclops. I'm still looking at it and thinking, does Cyclops really need to play, you know, for swings and being aggressive when you could have T1 just watching the angle and going on to win the round? Because we could have been sat at 5-4 to T1. And not only would have our predictions suffered, but suddenly that starts to spice up things a bit lower down the table because, like they mentioned on the desk, after today, there are only 2 play days left for APAC North, after which time we go into the playoffs and the teams from APAC South and APAC North come together, and the ones who come out on top from that will be the ones going to the Mexico Major. So lots to play for here, and it makes me nervous as Cyclops when we see these aggressive players coming out that are quite uncharacteristic for them.
I think they need... The thing for Cyclops, you know, when I look through Des, they haven't chained together more than 2 rounds. They've always allowed T1 to come and get back into it, and that's why we find ourselves at 5-4 now without Cyclops taking too strong an advantage. And for me, it's the perfect time to do that now. They've just got a round. Get a second, get a third, get this finished off before it ends up in round number 12 and all of a sudden you're fighting against going to overtime. It's not what Cyclops need right now. So get this one locked down. They're down in the basement. It's a good site. They should be able to shut it down. They won it back in round 7 already, reasonably convincingly. So I think, you know, this is the time now.
I mean, as soon as you see reinforcing up here, makes me think that he's going to commit that last mirror window up here potentially. Nope, okay, just wanted to reinforce it up. I thought for a second they were going to try a full 3-floor hold, and I was like, that reinforcement feels very odd given the likelihood the pressure is going to be inside of meeting rather than anywhere near there. So I'm not quite sure what that's all about, but they've still got 3 reinforcements in back pocket they haven't used here. Normally you'd see the 1 save for the rotation down elbow, but maybe it's because, as you're seeing here, they want to hold inside a big tower. You've got a couple playing up there. You want to stop any easy pressure coming in from the west as well. This is a very aggressive round coming out of Cyclops, and my God, I hope it pays off for them.
Alligator he saw that rappel line and he was just waiting. He knows that there's somebody out there. He was just waiting for the approach, but he's not going to get it because Neilio has moved away now and he's going to be joining his teammates potentially in construction, or he's actually looks like he's going all the way through to the front door to try and put some pressure on Laundry. But once again, last time around, T1 tried to take the rush into bunker. It didn't work out. This time it looks like a similar approach, but just without the rush element. It looks like they're still wanting to push in, but no, Des, they've just used it as a stay staging ground. They've moved themselves away. They've decided that that is not the route, and they're not going to go for it. But Anaton, he's absolutely desperate to get out of that door. You can feel it. He knows that they're potentially coming in. He's there particularly to protect Alligator, who's protecting the top floor. It's a little bit like...
Drone hasn't seen him.
Layer after layer of defence here needs to be removed. You got to get one before you can get the next.
They're so focused on trying to drone this guy out of the top of tower, and they're correct because he is still there, but I don't know if they know about Anaton playing on the stairs here. Maybe now he's moved away, they do have some idea and might get pinched out from green door here out towards the east. There's a man inside. That default cam most likely shot out here means they want to go for a double peek. Gatorada starting to line up, Anaton as well. That Titan killer starts ripping away, doesn't quite do enough to bring him down, but he is down to about 60 HP there, Tim.
He is. He's going to keep holding his angle. Anaton on the Ella there. There's a minute left to go. T1 not making too much progress so far. They've had to rotate again. Let's not forget they've been set up in bunker. They've moved to rear stage. They're now pushing laundry stairs, and all this rotation, all this adaptation takes time. And at 50 seconds, with still 5 men left on the board for Cyclops here, it's looking like a potentially good round. 11 is going to use his utility to open up that laundry entrance, but all he does is open Neilio up to a face full of lead as the kills come in. But Crazy Boy and 11 able to get one apiece, leaving us 4 versus 3 with 30 seconds to go.
Alrighty, well, they found something then, some kind of inward way, but 4 versus 3 and 25 seconds to play. You need to move now. 2 members almost die for T1, but they find the kill onto Alligator. 4 versus 2. These shotguns, though, could be lethal against those 3 low health members as in they come. Do they know about Anaton? No, they don't. Oh, he swings out at the wrong time, though. 11 just a little bit quicker. Gatorada looking to play on the hold here. Do they even know where he is? They must know. Finds one, sees the man planting, downs 1, downs 2. No way is he about to nick the round. Yeti! He'll stop him and bring it up to 5 and 5, but my God, was that close.
It really needed Yeti to put the brakes on that one, didn't it? He was almost running away with it for Cyclops there as he looked to take that one over the line. But once again, Cyclops unable to chain rounds together, and T1 keep themselves fighting in this one. We guaranteed 12 rounds. It will absolutely go the distance. If anybody does win it in regulation, they will only be able to win it by the narrowest of margins. But there is always still the potential for overtime as well. Let's not forget, if that happens and we end up at 6-all, then it will go to a best of 3 round overtime, and we will see just how it shakes down at that point. Now we're going to be heading back down to laundry again for the first of what will be the last 2 normal time rounds here. 5-5 on the scoreboard, so somebody, whoever can win this round, is going to come away with an opportunity to close out this match.
Oh, again, Cyclops. They're playing with my heart, man. Like, coming into today, this felt like one of the easier games to predict. And I said before the game even started, this should be a pretty quick one for Cyclops.
There's no such thing in APAC, does.
There isn't when a team was running the kind of lineups they were. I mean, don't forget as well, they came out that first half at 3-3, so it wasn't really a bad outcome to get those 3 attacking rounds. But here, T1 are nicking a couple of rounds from them, and that one looks so dire. But look, Gatorada just sat in the middle. The man peeks up and then spots him. The call at this point must be, okay, shooting quick. Manages to kill 3, and I thought for a second he might just sprint away here and not bother taking this 1v1, but he was so nervous as to where the last man was. And for Yeti, that was such a crucial shot to land, else would be sat in a 6-4.
This is it. It's always the gamble, isn't it? You know, you get yourself back to that 1v1, the diffuser's there on the ground, and you think, do I take the challenge? And I think at that point, the adrenaline's probably flowing as well. You've just hit a few shots, and you're like, yeah, I can take him. But sometimes, you know, you've just got to think, nope, get away from it. But ultimately, that is always, you know, not always the right choice either. If that attacker moves in, gets the diffuser, gets the plant down, then you can find yourself playing into their angles. So at the end of the day, he made his choice, and it wasn't the right one on the day, but on another, it could have been.
It's a game of small margins sometimes, Ace, is the best way that I can describe it.
Yes.
And that's exactly how that one played out. Let's see, though, how this next attack goes. It's going to be a start up on the top floor again. Of course, the defense is down inside of the basement. It's something that Cyclops have done throughout this half, is when they've lost the site, they've repeated it again. They did it with the second floor, now they've done it with basement. So it's just saying, okay, we know what small change we need to make here, and admittedly, not really any changes coming through on the defensive side. The lineup is exactly the same. I'm hoping here they've got a little bit more adaptation, because they really did get caught completely out by T1 on that laundry and freezer push. And fair enough to Cyclops, they have abandoned their hold inside of Big Tower. Still got the castle locking down a couple of the doorways, though, just to make sure that at least when the attackers come through, like in the previous round, it should give you some kind of heads up of, okay, they're blowing things open here, they're committing utility. That likely means they want to come and push through laundry.
Very probably Anaton up there on that top floor. I'm not sure whether they've got him nailed on or not, whether they're aware of his presence on the Ella, but with 3 at rear stage, he's going to have to be careful, because if he can get a rotation through Attic, that could be a serious danger for them. Obviously, at the moment, there's a couple off-site for Cyclops. That's going to be the big sort of theme here, is just exactly what happens with that. We've got 2 playing off-site. Cyclops, they're just hoping to hit T1 on a flank, but T1 do look alert to the danger here. They do look as if they're aware of that, but it is slowing down that push into rear stage that they've stacked up for at the minute.
Just holding down on site, no one needing to move or go too aggressive. It's weird to see Cyclops being so, dare I say, passive in a way. Normally you would have someone trying to be a bit chaotic. It was Anaton earlier on, who's now sat in place. And with, I wonder if that's ready for a one-hit kill, because if it is, and they break the castle barricade straight away and go ripping around that corner, the yellow shotgun barks, in my opinion. That could be massive for them in terms of disruption. Here he is waiting. No, it hasn't been 11 hit, so they can't just break it down, which is going to hurt them a bit. Maybe the idea is you're waiting for the attackers to break it open and then you go nuts. Neilio finding the 1 back onto Gadarada, so 4 versus 4 with 20 seconds to play.
Neilio just trying to find any angle he can do here at the minute. Bulletproof cam feeding a lot of information at the minute. Neilio opens with the sledge and he'll wish he hadn't, as Anaton pops out and gets the big kill with the Ella shotgun. That could be the one that Cyclops needed, and it is. It breaks the seal and kill after kill rain in, and Cyclops get themselves the match point opportunity.
They do. That one a much more defensive defense. That's kind of what I'm used to seeing in a lot of maps from Cyclops. I know last year we said, you know, it's a very defensive team, very slow and lethargic on the attack, and their defenses have been more aggressive so far in 2021. At least with how it shaped up in this game, and maybe a little bit over-aggressive at points. But that round there, much more passive, much more defensive. Just let them come to you and then catch them on the rip straight after. And when I say rip, I clearly mean the Ella shotgun, which did a lot of work there from Highway.
Well, that's it. We saw the Ella just sitting there, waiting. I'm not gonna 10 hit. I'm not gonna 11 hit this barricade. I'm gonna wait for you to do it with the sledge, and then surprise, here I am. Out he pops and gets a couple of big kills. As I say, it was the catalyst really. As soon as that one went down, it sort of spread the panic, I think, through T1 of like, we've got somebody on the side, we've got somebody pushing into pillars, and then it just allowed everybody else to pick up their shots on the side of Cyclops.
I mean, it's Cyclops calling the timeout here as well. Of course, they are the team that just won the round, so I imagine the conversation now is, guys, we're at match point. Let's put this to bed now. Let's not send it through into overtime. If it does get there, I believe it's Cyclops starting on defense. They pick the map, which means T1 get to pick which side they started on. They chose defense. In overtime, Cyclops then get to pick again. So I think with how the map's balanced out, if it goes 3-3 at the half, you'll see some very serious compositions coming out of them. They do not want to be conceding points here and potentially threatening that place at the major. Even with that consideration, they're still top of the table right now. So one loss wouldn't, you know, absolutely kill them in this case, but you don't want to find yourself slipping down the table as the weeks go by.
Absolutely not. This is the thing. All that happens then is the other teams sort of smell blood in the water and they think, right, there's our opportunity. You know, there's our in. We can catch them up now. And all those teams that have been sort of waiting, reliant on other results for Cyclops to make a mistake, would at that point be sort of rubbing their hands, ready to pounce. So, yep, Cyclops, they need to make sure that they're getting this one locked down. They need to keep it professional, get the win on the board, because, as you say, they don't want to be finding themselves in a position to be getting reeled back in later in the stage.
Absolutely not. Well, we're stepping into a site that we haven't seen so far in this match is Dining and Kitchen. We saw Meeting and Kitchen being played by T1 on their defensive side, and because Cyclops have doubled up on all the sites so far, we've just seen Basement twice, we've seen Top Floor twice. In fact, maybe it's in Basement 3 times. Yep, back in round 7 that was Basement, so now round 10 and 11 have also been there, and the other 2 have been the Top Floor, with repetitions taking place where they've lost it the first time round. This does scream to me, looking at their setup though, of an incredibly defensive one. Ace, you've got the Clash on side, you've got the Echo in place, the smoke to play behind as well. It suggests to me in that 60-second time up, they've had that chat and said, right boys, close it out here and now. How do we play this sensibly? Where are we stronger than T1? And I'd wager they're saying here, if we can waste their time, if we can win the ones in the dying moments of the round, that's where we feel we really shine.
Immediate aggression towards small tower there, looking to get control of that before the push will come likely into Dining, I would have expected, but a top floor clearance is definitely necessary because that default spot can be defended from the hatch inside of the bedroom, inside a kid's dorm. So they need to be very, very aware of that T1 here and make sure they get it shut down. Anaton on the Clash just playing in and around that door from Dining to small tower. He's just going to be feeding information on the progress that T1 are making, but also just trying to keep them off that wall, trying to keep them away from the door and getting their angles into sight.
But not even, of course, find the angles and get the kills. All good having the angles, but then at some point you're forced to move as that clock slowly starts to run down towards 0. Still plenty of time left in this round, mind you, and with the drone work coming out, as you can see, this is where the focus starts to say, okay, what do we need to be pressing here? What needs to be opened up? And number one normally is always going to be that hard reinforced wall that looks out in towards small tower. Sure enough, that'll be opened up first. Sometimes you get it opened from above. Replica being zapped out there by the Clash at quite some range as well. Actually, I was surprised. I was like, where the hell are those blasts coming from? I thought it might be a Maestro Evil or something, but of course, that not being on side says, yeah, it's just the Clash at long range.
11 looking to get aggressive in towards Showers there. We can see he's just getting the information. He's looking to help try and push that Clash, use those concussion grenades. Of course, a direct counter to the shield. It will create the shield break and give an opportunity to be able to take him out. But right now, the Clash is being a little bit subdued inside of Showers there. Obviously, T1 need to be very aware of the position on the flank there, that they could get hit from the side if they go in for that plant. And they seem to have just stalled out a little bit, unsure how to deal with it. Black Ray managing to find that opening kill onto Neilio. Ayagator doubles down onto Yeti, and this is all looking like a Cyclops round and game here as Ayagator finds himself a double. And this one is all but done as we are 1 versus 5, 11. I mean, if anybody can do it, surely it's him. But with less than half health, this is less than ideal. Desi looks to find one.
Again.
Can't do that, gets shut down. And Cyclops managed to close out a strong win.
4K in the final round, not even letting them get control of Shower. The Clash in there, the shotgun of Ayagator playing in behind. You had the one-man playing in Shower corridor. T1 just completely held inside a small tower. A good final defense. A couple of scary moments of Cyclops throughout that match, it's fair to say, but ultimately closing out and taking home the 3 points.
Great result for them. You know, these are the games, I often say, you can't win a title without winning difficult games. And Cyclops there coming through and